Peace and assalamu alaikum everyone. It's Mumtahana and sorry at that and sorry life. My apologies for the lighting. My bedroom light is never very light in here because I don't have a ceiling fixture, just a couple of lamps, and it's just always low key like this. So my apologies first with that. But tonight I would like to talk about Kwanzaa, the Pan African holiday Kwanzaa, and why I have decided to celebrate it this year and inshallah the coming years, um, even while my children are basically all grown now, except for my 15-year-old, and why we never celebrated it in the past. So, first, let me just kind of very briefly, because I am not very learned in this area. But of course, I do know some things because I'm from Newark, New Jersey, and there's no way you're getting through life without knowing about Kwanzaa, whether you celebrate it or not. So, Kwanzaa, again, is a Pan African holiday which was started by Dr. Malana Karinga. It lasts 7 days. It starts the day after Christmas, so December 26th, and it goes on to January 1st. So, what Westerners consider New Year's Day. It is based on 7 principles, which, if you practice these throughout the year, you as an individual, your family, and therefore the community will become stronger and prosperous. Okay, so the 7 principles, and I wrote them down because I don't always forget them and what they mean. Actually, I have to remember what some of them mean in English. But anyway, so the 7 principles are Umoja, which is unity, Kuji Chakalia, which is, I think that's I don't know why I can't remember that. Self-determination. And then you have Ujima, which is collective work and responsibility. I want to get them all proper. So collective work and responsibility. And then Ujama, which is in English cooperative economics. Nia, which is purpose. We have a masjid back home in Jersey, in North New Jersey, called Masjid Nia. Kumba, which is creativity, and Imani, which is faith, right? I know a little bit of Swahili. Yep, Imani. So these 7 principles are called the Nguzo Saba, and what was I gonna say? And so each day is it like focuses on that principle, that day's principle. So for instance, let's see, the first day is Umoja, so you will focus on that, right? Like unity. The second day you will focus on self-determination, and so on and so forth. So what was I gonna say? So I've known about Kwanzaa since I was a teenager. I don't remember when I found out about Kwanzaa. It was 1,000 years ago. But here's the thing. We are Afro-Native. So, and we're Muslim. So, in my family, like with my mother's generation, my mother, her siblings and such, no one ever talked about, even my great grandmother who was Mohawk, and she like raised us and all that kind of stuff. Nobody talked about Native culture for one, and that is not uncommon at all. Now, you know, it's been natives have been rediscovering and embracing embracing our culture, but the same way that Africans and African Americans had our culture stripped from us and our rituals and our identities stripped. It was the same exact thing with natives. I know a lot of black people think that nobody has had it as hard as black Americans or Africans, but trust me, everyone sees their suffering as the worst suffering, but it's just not so. And so Native Americans here on this land had gone through so many of the same things. So, of course, they were exterminated by the millions and millions, but their children were also, just like with black Americans and Africans who were, you know, kidnapped, captured, and drugged here to this land. Native children were also taken away from them. They were put into essentially internment camps, but native schools where the culture was stripped from them, like everything. They were forbidden to speak the language, all sorts of things. The same things. They essentially did the same exact things to Native Americans and African Americans. So my family, and then on top of that, my grandmother was Irish and German, and so she was disowned, basically, from her family for marrying an Afro-Native man. And so my mother and her siblings just had it hella hard. So being raised in a black community and being absolutely detached from Native culture. My family was just trying to be black because it was bad enough they were being beat and oppressed and all that kind of thing. Growing up super light skinned, and my mother and all her siblings had different grade of hair and everything. So like my mother's hair was like super straight and long, whereas my uncle Thea had a big afro. So, but they were all super light. So all they were concerned about was being accepted as being black. And so we lost a lot of culture. But with me, my mother, I was born, my parents were in the Nation of Islam when I was born. So I just always had black culture. It was like, yo, this is what I am. And I was Muslim. So those were my primary like cultural upbringing. And then as I got older, I started learning more about my own heritage, from my father his family being Bahamian American, my grandmother being the first generation born here in the States, and then again, my Mohawk culture, and, of course, child, we're just multicultural in my family. And so I raised my children knowing more, like each generation, I guess, we like learned more and more. And so I raised my children knowing Native culture, Caribbean culture, African American culture, but primarily it was African American and Muslim. But of course, Islam took precedence because that is more. I don't look at Islam as a religion, I look at it as a spirituality. So to me and for me, spirituality, if you have to, if one has to have a primary purpose or whatever, then it would be the spiritual aspect. So I just never got into Kwanzaa because we were already super black. So, and then, there have been times where I thought about celebrating Kwanzaa, but honestly, when I was younger, just knowing like the base of it, I was like, well, it just seems to me like they took aspects of Christianity and Judaism and put it together. And I wasn't interested in Christianity or Judaism, so I'm like, it's not really doing anything for me. I didn't see a reason to practice it or celebrate it because we already had cultural and ritualistic things that we did. So, but I always kind of went back and forth like, should I? Shouldn't I? And so my first husband, who's older than me, he's about 20 years older than me, and he was around. He was very much into like black nationalist movements when he was coming up. So he was around when Dr. Karenga started Kwanzaa. So he was pretty much like, pfft. Like, I remember when he did that. Like, it was no big deal to him. It's just like, eh. So he never wanted to, celebrate it with the children or anything. So I was like, cool. And then I remember after that, when we went through a divorce and everything, and I contemplated again doing it like for the children, and talked to my godmother, who's also Black Muslim, and fiercely pro-black. Okay, and I remember talking to her about it, and she was kind of like, "Why?" You know what I mean? So I was like, "Okay, maybe I'm just tripping." And so, we never did it. But again, I guess didn't really feel like we needed to because we already had culture. We already um, African American history has always been here in my family, in my household, because I homeschooled all my children, so it was no thing. We don't, I don't acknowledge February as like Black History Month because we do it constantly all year. Um, So yeah, I mean, it was no big deal to me not celebrating Kwanzaa. Now, in saying that again, I'm from Newark, New Jersey, where there's no way that you can get through life not knowing about Kwanzaa, but because Newark, New Jersey has a very bad reputation a lot of times because there is a lot of drama that goes on there. However, Newark has always been like fiercely cultural, fiercely political. We about us, and our cultures and our arts and all those sorts of things. So they're always having events, downtown Newark and throughout Newark, pertaining to Kwanzaa and other Black heritage type of celebrations. And so we would like go to things here and there, but I didn't really consider it like celebrating it or anything. But in saying all of that, um, I decided, I guess I just decided for sure last year because it was too late. It was getting too close to Kwanzaa, so we didn't do it last year. But I said, this year we'll do something. Now, I have a whole lot of friends who have celebrated Kwanzaa forever, and Afro Native friends, and friends who, a lot of my friends are very well aware of their cultures, their actual ancestral, lines and everything. And so like they don't just say they're like Moorish, or they don't just say they're like whatever, his Hebrew Israelite, and just like kind of pull it out the sky almost. They know for sure who their people are. And so I have a lot of people like that. And then I have a lot of, African American friends who they are just, pro blackness. They may not know specifically who their people are, but they know they're black. So what else you need, right? So, and like they celebrate Kwanzaa. And, but again, I just don't feel like it's this big major to do because it's just who you are. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think I'm gonna maybe talk to them and get some ideas because I don't really know what to do per se. I know like the basics, and I think you really only need the basics. One thing that I never want to get caught up into and that's with Islam with Eid or Kwanzaa. I don't want to get caught up into any corporate type thing, capitalist type thing, where it's like, oh, it's Kwanzaa, let's do this, let's do that. I'm not like that with the Eid either. Um, that's always a fear of mine that corporate America is gonna grab hold to those things, but it's my understanding that, as I said, Kwanzaa is really about the upliftment of the community. So I'm not really sure what to do, but I think what I'm going to try to do um, is like maybe like at least for this year, because even though it's only the end of November, I still feel like I'm pushing it. Um, so I think maybe I'll just kind of decorate the buffet and probably just do a little tablescaping on the dining room table. And then each day we'll just discuss the principle for that day. And I don't know if you have to um, make and give gifts to each other, but there won't be a problem, I guess, because it's only two. I only have two children home right now, anyway. Um, but what I think I want to do is each day do like a charitable act. So, really, a lot of the same things that I do for the Eid. Um, so, like doing things for homeless, for the elderly. Maybe I like to like give zakat or give like alms, they call it, to organizations online. There's this really cool organization I like to give to. It's called piousprojects.org. And I really like them because they give 100% of proceeds to whichever like what do you call it, like event or whatever that they have going on, because they don't only give to one thing. They have a whole like slew of things you can choose from, and you can give it whatever you want to give, $10, whatever. I like giving to the malaria project because they are 100% proceeds also, I believe, goes to the people. So they take donations to buy mosquito nets, and a lot of African countries and towns where malaria is a really big issue. So, the mosquitoes carry malaria. And a lot of the women, like pregnant women, they like die and all that kind of thing. So I like giving to them, and it's only like $2.50 per net. Can you imagine? Like, I go to Whole Foods and waste $30 like that, like it's nothing, just on snack food. So this is not a problem. I like giving to the Himalayan Cataract Foundation. That's pretty cool because there are so many people in third world countries, like in just different like parts of Ethiopia or like Kenya, like different places where because of the sun, from poverty and different issues, they have cataracts and they're blind. And so this organization, I don't remember how much it is, maybe like $25 or something per cataract. But they take, I'm not per cataract, per like pair of lenses. So they go and they remove the cataract, the lens that's all messed up, and they put an artificial lens on the people. And can you imagine people who have been blind for decades? Within 24 hours, they can see again. And this is so important because, you know, they're blind, so that means they cannot help support themselves. They can't help support their families. Their families are, have the extra burden of having to take care of mom, or having to take care of this child who can't see, and all these things. So it's really, really important. There's just a few of the organizations that I love giving to, and we'll probably do that for Kwanzaa, for the week of Kwanzaa. So yeah, I don't know. Give me some ideas. Like, what do you guys do for Kwanzaa? Or like, is there anything that I need to know, need to do? I don't know. Help me out. Teach me. Teach me. Peace.